Thousands of school children in the Eastern Cape have had to go without meals since the beginning of this term after the Provincial Education Department allegedly failed to transfer a portion of funds meant for the school nutrition program. The DA in the Eastern Cape says the issue has been ongoing since after the Easter holidays. The MEC for Education spokesperson Vuyiseka Mboxela joins us tonight on News at Prime. A very good evening to you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your time. So why exactly were thousands of children left without food for several days in April?
Thank you very much, Tembekele, and good afternoon to the Newzroom Afrika viewers. If you would recall, in the Department of Basic Education, the policy is funding a kid, not funding a school. And last year, there was a circular which was sent to all schools, which was requesting all of them to update the information in a program called EMIS, which is a system that we use to authenticize the number of learners per school. And there are some schools that could not authenticize the number of learners that they have. And the last tranche of the money that they were given last year could only take them from November, December and January. And in the following year, such could not continue because there's a number of learners that could not be really authenticized as to who are they, where are they from. Because any learner in the basic education, in order for you to be known that you are a learner and you are in which grade, you must have an ID number. So it took the department that month to authenticize that information, because that's the information that is coming from schools. And there are learners that we don't have in the system because they do not have IDs. And in terms of the number that we had last year, it was 1.6, we have got 1.8 now. Now, it therefore means that when we're giving money to schools, had we used the data of last year, there is a number of learners that we're not going to feed. And had we used randomly, it therefore means that we were to be using the money of government wrongly. So we had that challenge. But as of Friday last week, the money was then deposited to all schools after the data was being verified. Of course, coming from.
Just to be clear, are you saying these children were not fed because you were still in the process of verifying their identities, basically, so that the money per kid could then be allocated? Is that what you're saying?
Look, Magile, it's not all schools. That's the first thing. It's not all schools in the province. It's identified schools that could not give authentic information, because in order for you to know the number of, in fact, the amount of money that you must deposit to each school, you must then be at a point to say, in this particular school, there are 700 learners, and then this amount of money that I must deposit to that school.
I understand that. What I'm trying to get to is, I don't know if you saw the report today. There was a report out, Eyewitness News, quoting a department official here, Malibongwe Mdima, who said that the issue was not with the department, but the issue was that schools were either misusing or blowing their budget, so to speak, because an allocation was made in December for the quarter, and that is why these children had gone hungry. That is very different from what you're telling us now, because you're saying it was an issue of verifying who's who in the system. So who among you has got this wrong?
No, Tim was correct in what you were saying. Remember, I said that the last tranche that was given was last year, and that tranche was meant to take from last year until March this year. It could not do that. And when there was a time for the first tranche of 2023-2024 to be deposited, verified information was not found from schools. So there is nothing that we are speaking back and forth, me and him. And it is true that it's only when we've got information from schools that says this is the number of learners that we have today, in which then give us an opportunity to give them the correct amount of money. And I can tell you, money in the Department of Education is allocated in quarters, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. So the tranche that was given to schools last year, it was a tranche that was expected to take them from December until March. It could not happen. And if you would remember, from January to March, there are days that were allocated aside as holidays.
Okay.
And when there was a calculation of that money, it was expected that at least by the time they have to be receiving a first tranche, they would have been still having the money, because they are almost like 10 days in between wherein they were having school holidays.
These kids did not have food by some accounts for 3 weeks from the beginning of term. Surely, on whatever calculation, whatever you and the schools were doing, that is unacceptable, because to be a beneficiary of a school nutrition program, these are very often the kids who are from the poorest among the poor in the families in their community, so they don't have plan B if they don't get a sandwich in the morning from school.
I agree with you, and that's why we've been saying that we have learned a great deal on this matter, and that is why the MEC has said that authenticizing information of all learners that are to be fed in the department, it must start in September. And hence, therefore, even yesterday when he was with the principals and Alfred, and so he did raise it that there will have to be an issue of consequence management in case some schools do the same thing of or not authenticizing the information, because it's not all the schools in the Eastern Cape that were not able to feed learners, and some of those schools, it was just because they could not authenticize the information which is needed.
Right.
And also, I wish to make this call to parents that they must accept that the IDs are very important for their own learners, so that they can be given proper funding by government, because even the LTSM is given to a learner that is identified to true.
So what are you going to do now in the cases where the schools have blown their budget? What do they spend that budget on? And what are the consequences for instances where there was supposed to have been money left over, but at school level, it wasn't there, and therefore these kids went hungry? What happens to the people responsible?
I can tell you that there are some teachers, even in the past, and some school principals in the past that have been dismissed for maladministration. Even on this one, the HOD is assisting with that. And of course, we trust his ability that he is going to make sure that those that would have been found at fault in this process, they are being put in the processes of government. And also, the handling of school nutrition in any school is done in collaboration with parents, because the SGBs are also involved. It is therefore a call to them that they must also be highly involved, not just in the peripheral process, but also in counting all the needed information, and also in assisting schools themselves in making sure that learners in all the schools are identified, because the minute there is no ID, there is no funding that can go to any school, and
right.
It is just policy that we can't do anything about it.
So whichever way you cut it, you as the adults in the situation, be it the parents, the education department and schools, you've all failed these children for 3 weeks in April. I want to ask you about another issue then. I don't know if you've seen this. There's video online today of what we're told are grade R pupils. These are grade 1, not grade R children, pupils who are crossing a river to get to school. The area, according to what's been put online, is in Venyane in the Matatiele municipality. What do you as the Eastern Cape Education Department know about this situation, and why has it been going on, according to reports, since floods late last year without a safer route for these children to get to school?
Thank you very much, Mbekile. I do know that area called Mvenyane, but unfortunately, I can't speak for the behalf of the Department of Transport, because that responsibility of building roads and access roads lies between them and the national government, and also that said municipality.
So you don't ask them as the education officials when the situation endangers children who are entrusted to your care? You don't think it's important for you to pursue answers?
No, I didn't say that, but I was just saying that it is a responsibility that is bestowed to the Department of Transport, and of course I can be of great help in locating that department in the province so that they can provide you with relevant answers.
The point I was making is that it should trouble you as the Education Department, trouble you enough to indeed be actively pursuing this, because these are children, grade R, by my calculation, they're about, 5, 6, because you start grade 1 at 7. So they're basically risking their lives every morning to get to school and then having to risk their lives again getting back home.
Definitely, it does bother us. And even if it was not in that area, it would remain a problem, because we're one government. And that is why I'm saying that I would wish to extend contacts of the relevant person at the Department of Transport so that they can give you an authentic information. As of now, I do understand what you are raising, but the issue is that responsibility lies with the Department of Transport, and the only people that are able to give you proper answers, as of me, is to make sure that this information does reach their doorsteps.
Please let them know to look out for our call. Thank you so much for your time tonight, Ms. Vuyiseka Mboxela, spokesperson for the Eastern Cape Education Department. Thank you.